Alright, this thing's been picked pretty hard. That is the part right there that you're looking for. So it looks like these are Phillips. I'll pull that out and see. I'm just using a real short Phillips. Alright, so I took out two Phillips, a Phillips here and a Phillips right here. And it looks like there's another one right there. Looks like this comes out here. That looks like that's just the place for the electrical. Pull that out, give a little slack like that. Alright, so that one there is a smaller Phillips. As you can see, it's real long, and it looks like that's just for this. That's just a clamp for the electrical. Then you just found another one right there. So there's three of those. So let's take that out. Okay, so I got that out, and now it does come right out. Alright, so let's disconnect this electrical. That's just going to be a squeeze one. So you're going to just press in right there. Two hands, just press right there and it'll pop out. Alright, that there is the track. And you can see that track. That's where this little ball goes. So when you're installing it, you're just going to push it back into that track and then line up the screw holes. I got the motor back home now, and I wanted to test it. This is the part number, by the way. I scribed it on there. This is called the AC Actuator, or the Air Mix Servomotor. So let me show you how to test this now. Here's a page from the FSM. We can get an idea about how this thing works. So there's the location there, and there's those three screws which we removed to get it out, and then there's that little screw for the electrical. And as you can see here, the arm is moving. It moves 90 degrees. So from here to here, it moves from warm to cold, and from here to here. So counterclockwise is the cool motion. Clockwise is the warm motion, and we'll use this testing procedure. But what I noticed when I was looking through this here is that there's a conflict between these positions, the way it's written here, because as you can see right here, it says too warm, so warm is clockwise and warm is at that 11 o'clock position, but then here it says the opposite. It says cool, and then it says warm down here. So I'm not sure which one is actually cool or warm. It doesn't matter for testing purposes. I'm going to go with this convention. And somebody, if you actually have it on a truck, I don't have a truck here to test this on, please let me know which is which. So to test this, all we're going to do is connect the positive lead from the battery to terminal 5 and the negative lead to terminal 4, and then check that the arm moves to the cool side smoothly. So that's this. And then we'll just reverse the polarity, right? So we'll just switch positive. We'll go positive to 4 and negative to 5, and then it should go back. So that's just a simple little DC motor in there that we're just going to reverse the polarity and expect it to go like this. I am holding it upside down. Let me get it right. There. Alright, so this motor right now, as we can see, is in the warm side mode. So we're going to throw voltage on it and see if it will go to the cool side mode. And then we'll test it to go back again. And there you can see the detail for the terminal, that 5 is all the way to the left and then 4 is right next to it. So if we look at the actual thing and we compare, okay, notice that shape on the top, that U shape, there it is there. So we're going to be going to that one all the way to the left and then the one right next to it. Now those contacts are so close together that it's difficult to get on there without accidentally shorting it. So I'll show a little trick I learned. Just take some of your thicker gauge wire and then you cut the end. Just cut one side, just barely get through the insulation enough that you'll be able to slide this on. There's my little slit there. I'll put this in and I'm going to face that slit out since there's no other contact there. Okay. And then my other one, which I just barely slit, I'm going to face it up since I don't want to jump that 4-3. So there we go. Alright, looks good. Okay, I have my little wires in there, and these alligator clips, they're not connected to anything yet. Before I throw voltage on it, I'm going to make sure that I'm not shorting over these contacts right here. Right, if I didn't put these on right because these little wires, I might have shorted this, or I might have shorted 4 to 3. So I'm going to check resistance across 4 and 5, which I can do here and here. That's 5, that's 4. And I'm going to be looking for the resistance of just the motor, which should be, so I'm going to set at about 2000 ohms there on my meter. And let's see, there we go. Okay, so I'll check, and I'm looking for a fairly low resistance value, but not 0 and not infinity. So there we go. I've got 32 ohms. So I'm pretty confident that I'm just on the motor there. So I'll go ahead and throw power to this now. I'm just going to wrap a piece of wire around each one of the terminals so I can have something to put my alligator clip on. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. So we're going 5 to positive. I'll keep an eye on the motor here. And 4 to ground. There it goes. Okay, so we'll reverse that. And we'll expect it to go back up. So now we're going 4, right? 4 to positive and 5 to ground. And the next test, it looks like there is a potentiometer in this system because we're going to be checking resistance across 2 and 3. So that's a clue because this was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we were using 5 and 4 to control the motor. And then we have 3 pins, which in a system like this typically indicates a potentiometer. And that's what we see over here. So we'll be testing resistance across 2 to 3 ohm meter. And we're going to look for certain resistance values based on which position the arm is in. This is the cool position. So I'm just going to reach in here and get across 3 and 2. And I'm on 3, and there's 2. Oops. And the cord is in the way, but it says 4.6. Right. Okay, there we go. Goes a long way. I'm going to pop this thing open to have a look at what's going on inside, and these are tamper resistant, so you have to really just very gently get under here, but they're very, very easy to break. Don't freak out if you break them because these fasteners will keep it closed. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of those, just get under them, pull it up, and then you can open this. You do not have to take this arm off. You don't have to take the shaft out. This will come out together with it. So you just got to get in there and pull it apart after you lift those up. So I popped this open, and you can see that the arm, you don't have to remove the arm. The arm is keyed to the shaft, and the shaft is keyed to this resistance plate. And this is almost kind of like a record player, right? So you can see, or that's like the record, and this is like the record player, and those are the needles. So you can kind of see how, if I kind of hold it together, if you kind of imagine this is where that's going to touch, and each of these little record player needles are going to be on different parts of this. So this is some type of resistance material, and so measuring resistance between here and here, or here and here, for example, you're getting different values, which brings into play these 3 contacts. So this was what we were using for power and ground. We'll just call them 5 and 4 because it was reversing polarity that would change the direction of the motor. Those 2 plates there, those go straight to the motor. Then if you look carefully at these, we'll start here. 1, 2, and 3. Those line up with these contacts. So it looks like each one of these contacts gets 2 needles, and then if you look carefully at the tip of the needle, it splits. So this needle can actually ride between grooves, so to speak, here. So if we look real carefully at those grooves, you can kind of see there's a grease on there, and where the teeth on the needles have made marks is in that grease. So you can kind of count your position. Probably easiest to start in the middle and go out. So that's kind of neat, and the reason that this is cool to me is it would explain why the motor didn't stop. And please, if anybody knows this system, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the position of the record, so to speak, is being picked up by these needles, which is allowing some type of control back here on these pins 1, 2, and 3. And again, as I showed, I think at the beginning of this part, this wheel, this gear is keyed to the shaft, and the shaft is keyed to the arm, so there's no way to get that out of sequence there. So that makes me feel okay that it didn't stop. But now we'll see 3 has got to be one of these. Start at the bottom. No, 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 no. Yes. So that is 3. So 3 goes to that one there, that number 2, and looks like 3 also goes to that one. Okay, so it is a pair. So let's check 2. So intuitively, I would say this would be 2. 2, and that would be 2. And 1, this I would say would be 1, and 1. And to just cross-check, we should be open, 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 and open. And for 2, open, and open, and open, and open. Okay, so this here little batch of needles is for the position of the gear. So if you're having some type of trouble with your stopping then, but your motor works well, that's what I would start looking at. Maybe that's helpful for somebody. That's a really, really neat kind of thing though. Really cool. Now if you're in here because your motor's clicking, it's likely that this gear here might have worn down. These little bits break. You might even have worn down gears here, but it's unlikely. If you're hearing clicking, it's unlikely that it's that motor, but I mean it could be. In that case, you could always just replace this motor. Just pull this out, look on the motor, see what kind it is, and drop a new motor in. You probably have to just solder over here. Alright, so I'm not worried about this anymore now. So I'm going to put this thing back together And I'm just going to line up that shaft there with that hole and snap everything together. Oh, there's also these here, there and there. Alright, this is still a guess, but I think this is the actual correct labeling. I think that top position is warm and the lower position is cool. The reason I think that is I just got a picture of the motor that this is replacing, and that motor is in air conditioner mode and it is in that position. So to make it easier for the next person to install, I'm going to go ahead and move this arm so I hook back up my little wires, and I'm going to check again to make sure that I am only on that motor. And I am, that's right, it was like 33 or so last time I checked it. So now I will go ahead and throw power on this. Now looking at the FSM, it's a 90-degree path that this turns, right? So from here to about here. And it does look like on the FSM, they have a line and it is going through that hole. So if I can kind of put the camera right over for that hole, that is the maximum position for cold, and 90 degrees, which is about right here where it is the maximum position for warm. So that's if you're installing it and you want to do that. Okay, you can see right here. So this looks like this could barely slightly move, but given the size of those teeth, I don't think you could quite get it like that. So you could probably install it like that if you were in more warm mode. So I'm gonna power this down until I have that about like that for cool mode. Let's see how close I can get it on my first go. Probably overshoot it and have to come back. Oh, that's pretty good. I might leave it like that, but let's see if I can get it a little better. I'll overshoot it and reverse it. Ooh, that'll do it right there. That looks pretty darn good, doesn't it? Alright, so I think that is pretty darn close. And I think this will be able to drop right in on the cool position. If you've got a used motor or even a new motor that you bought that you're installing and it's in the opposite position or some intermediate position, before you install it, there's two options. The first one is you can grab the track and you can manually move the track. The other option is, like shown earlier, you can throw power on 5 and ground on 4, or whichever way, reverse it to get it to move to where you need it to be. Okay, do not try to turn this manually. You will break something, so don't do that. Just throw a little power on it, okay? And if you don't have a way of throwing power on it, that's fine. Go in there and just manually move the track. So this is ready for reinstall. Now, I don't have a reinstall video, but it's very simple. You're just going to put it in the same way that you took it out. If you remember this little mark here, A2, when you're looking at the video in the earlier parts, you can see the orientation is about like this. So there was a screw here, and there was a screw here, and then one back here, and then there was one here for the electrical, just that little bracket, which was holding the electrical, and then the electrical kind of tucked in right here.